Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Danimal Weekly number 16. I am Dan Andrews, also known as the Danimal from thedanimalhouse.com. For this week's topic, we're going to be discussing. First, I'm going to show you guys a little clip from me playing Counter-Strike 1.6 over the past couple weeks that I put together. It's a hilarious clip, so enjoy it at my expense. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. So I'm going to let you guys watch that, and then we'll be back just in a second to talk about it.
Rampage. With you, always.
Oh my god, wow. Why would you do that to me? Fucking faggot. Suck my dick.
I read that. I was really scared. I was so sure it was
So now, what you just saw and witnessed would be considered by most as an abject failure. Counter-Strike, I was planting the bomb on the terrorist side, and right as I finished planting, my lovely friend Nebula fucking stabbed me in the back and killed me. And I lost. It was one-on-one at that point. It was only me versus him. I was the last person on my team alive. He was the last person on his team alive. And most people in the gaming community and everybody else would call that an abject failure. And that's really this week's topic. Is we're going to be talking a lot about failure and whether or not it even exists, and how we should really think of in terms of when we get results from certain actions, what that actually means. So the main idea I'm be talking about is that there's no such thing as failure. And this idea was first presented to me in Philadelphia just a few weeks ago at that Blueprint to Be seminar that I talked a lot about already. But hearing that said for the first time was very powerful, that there's no such thing as failure. When you think about that, we only get certain outcomes. So certain actions and you receive certain outcomes, but there's no failure in its connotation has this idea that it's the end of the line and that there's nothing to be gained from that point on. And we all have heard sort of these, put it another way, like learn from your mistakes or learn from others' mistakes or some variation or play on that. But to really dismiss the entire idea of failure is a very powerful one. It was said at that seminar, a baby, a newborn infant, how many times will a baby fall down before it actually learns how to walk? How many times will it fall on its face before it learns to walk? And I do not have any kids, fortunately, but I would imagine, and most other parents have told me, that they'll probably fall down dozens, if not hundreds of times before they actually learn to walk. Maybe even more than hundreds. Maybe it's thousands. I have no idea. But I know it's a lot. So then why, when we get older and we become teenagers and adults, do we try something once and fail, and then we just quit? We're just done. Tried once, we failed, and then we're done. It's absolute bullshit. You didn't fail. You just got an outcome that you didn't want. It was Was this outcome, was it the one you wanted? Was it your well-defined outcome that you were seeking? Absolutely not. It wasn't. But what you did get is an outcome. So what you realize is that through those actions, the outcome you got from those actions was not what you wanted. So what you can therefore do is change the actions leading up to that outcome. And this is very potent for, and I applied this, not only does this apply well for training, not like, if you make a mistake in a lift, just in terms of mechanics, you make a mistake, you didn't, and you fail that lift. Sure, you didn't successfully complete the lift. That wasn't the outcome that you wanted, but you learned what not to do. So the next time you're performing that lift, you can improve upon it and get the outcome you actually want, your well-defined outcome. And this also goes for gaming, though. We take losses so seriously in gaming. Like me, if you listen to me at the end of that clip, I am furious. I am just seething with anger. I am so pissed off at the end of that game. And this happens a lot in StarCraft 2. If you're laddering at all, when you lose a game, it feels like the world is ending. Like you're just the worst person to play that game ever, and all you ever do is fail, and that it's just this totally demeaning and worthless feeling after you lose at some of these games. It's incredible the emotional attachment that we form and what sort of anchors are tied to losing in video games. They're very powerful. That's where that term nerd raging comes from. It's because when you lose a lot of times, you just freak out. You just start raging in so much anger that you lost this game that it's become like a joke now that, gamers and nerds rage a lot at certain points. So, but when you sort of start to reorganize your thoughts and think, okay, I didn't fail this game. I just got the outcome I didn't want. I got an outcome I was not planning on. So I lost this game for this and this reason. And that's what's nice about StarCraft. You can go back, watch the replays, and see what the other opponent did and what you should have done to counteract that. And that's a very encouraging way to frame it, to reframe that whole situation. No, I didn't fail that game. I learned what not to do to succeed in my next game and to improve as a player from there on out. And I think, Day 9 talks a lot about that as well, not taking your losses seriously. But really, losses can be used as a gain when you reframe it in that sense. So it also becomes very easy to practice because when you don't have this awful anchor tied to losing in these games, it's easier to practice more. You can play more games without getting emotionally attached and drained from all this gaming and losing and winning or whatever's going on. So it's a very potent idea, and I think if you start to apply that in just all aspects of life, all great successful people that have achieved any level of notoriety or done any great things, they all failed like miserably, dozens if not hundreds of times a lot of the time before they actually succeeded. But nobody talks about that because it's not what they're known for. They're just known for that book that made them a best-selling author, or that movie that made them an A-list celebrity, or whatever, that one thing that sort of defines them. So nobody really ever hears about those failures or anything until they write a biography or whatever. So really the key is you could almost make an argument that the more you fail, the closer you are to success. I know in Think and Grow Rich, if you're familiar with that book, there's a chapter in that book called 2 feet away from gold. There's something like that where an individual found a piece of land out on the west coast, and I think in Colorado, Midwest or whatever, and knew there was gold there, took out a bunch of loans from family and friends and bought all this gold mining equipment. Sure enough, goes down there with his friend, and they start mining all this gold. It's great for a while. They're sending back these train carts, these train loads worth of gold, and they very quickly were able to pay back all the people they took out loans from. And right before they were about to start profiting and they're become wealthy beyond their wildest imagination, the mine went dry. The gold just seemed to have disappeared. So then they were all discouraged. They're all bent out of shape. They lost their whole fortune. They just made enough to pay back all their debts. So they sold all their equipment for a fraction of what they paid and went home. They quit. So sure enough, the guy they sold that equipment to goes and looks at the mine they were mining, and he calls out an expert from Chicago who's like a gold mine expert, and he looks at the mine, this expert, and says, there's still tons of gold in this mine. They just hit a fault line. It's just like this, whatever, I obviously don't know shit about gold mining, but it was just this little fault of 2 feet of extraneous material and rocks and shit, and had they just dug 2 feet deeper, they would have struck gold again. So they were literally 2 feet away from millions of dollars back almost 100 years ago. And that's really, when you think about that, is when you're failing, when your failures seem the worst, that's when you're the closest you'll ever be to success. So like when the going gets tough, the tough get going, that sort of thing. Whenever like shit is at its absolute worst and you're on the verge of quitting, most of the time that's when you're the very closest you've ever been to succeeding at whatever you're doing. So that's it for this Danimals Weekly number 16. I hope you enjoyed watching me get stabbed in the back by my friend Neb. Asshole. Really great topic. Definitely try to apply it in everything. Lifting, video games, whatever you happen to be doing across the board. That's a very powerful idea. You never fail. We only receive outcomes. Whatever you do, you get an outcome. Sometimes you get the well-defined outcome that you were seeking, and other times you don't. But you never fail. Thanks, guys. Tune in next week for the Danimal Weekly number 17. Stay tuned for all those StarCraft 2 casts I've been doing. I love doing those. We'll have a bunch more of those coming for you soon. I have no number set on how many I would do a week, but you'll probably see several a week because I really enjoy doing that. So definitely check those out. Like the new Facebook page. Not enough people liked it yet. We got to move over from Integrity Athletics to the Danimal Weekly, or to the Danimal Facebook page. So make sure you like that new page for me. Have a great one, guys. Peace.